Testing 1, 2. Alright. This is my third book. The name of it is fj3 83 ? You can buy it on Amazon in case you didn't notice here. That's it on Amazon. I'm going to do a read through here. Here is the title there, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous by Donald Jose David Zepeda. Also by Donald Jose David Zepeda. Poesia, the true story of how planking saved my life, a survivor's tale. So, I find it frustrating to be recommended a book, and then I read it all the way through. And by the end of that book, I'm like, well, I shouldn't have been recommended that book at all. I'm currently typing this from a minivan. I'm in the midst of a campaign where I'm the supply van person for somebody who's walking 800 miles from Miami to Tallahassee, trying to round up the troops along the way for the final leg of the march, where we hope to have the largest nonviolent civil disobedience march in Florida's history. We've inspired some people, which is nice. This campaign is being done under the banner of XR America, which has a bit of a blemish on its name because it was founded by folks and allows people to work with them who have been disallowed from working with XR US, another affiliate of the International Extinction Rebellion movement. We see Sunrisers marching in NOLA and getting ready to march in Cali, and they get plenty of reaction to their stuff. That being said, Sunrise is currently the most effective climate organization in the country, so it makes sense. And on the other hand, the question is, are their marches delivering engagement and involvement for the National Sunrise Movement on enough of a scale to justify their cost? Maybe. They've got some coverage here and there so far. The Walk with Nick campaign, the one that I'm working on for XR America, is hopefully one that can help restore that org's image. The walk is a big, painful, and at times disruptive sacrificial act, and there, I hope, must be that pull amongst the current skeptics and haters of this org. Something along the lines of, well, I'm supposed to dislike these folks, but this is a really good campaign. Maybe I'm giving too much credit to people, though. There definitely is that pull amongst some people, though. I know. I see it. Anyway, that's where I am now, and I should probably get back to it. My job description doesn't entail go work on your book. For now, let's go back to 2019. Let's go back to my stint in jail for about a month. Let's see what I wrote when I was back in there, eh? From jail. Right, transcript slightly edited for the sake of accuracy, form, and recent developments. Written between November and December of 2019. I was told when/if I go to jail to write. So today I write. First, we're in the midst of a climate crisis. Safe concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere ranges from 280 ppm parts per million to 380 ppm. Right now we're at over 410 ppm. Recently we have been adding about 2 ppm to that number each year. This year we added 3 ppm. We're ultimately not solving this problem yet, and we are not offering solid indicators that we will solve this problem ASAP. Recently there was a conference on climate change. The goals of the conference were to become more ambitious in trying to restore a stable climate and to set up a global carbon market. At the end of the conference, both of those goals were eliminated at the behest of bigger polluters like the United States, Australia, Saudi Arabia, and Brazil. Lower emitting countries did say that they were going to reduce emissions anyway, which was one good thing from the conference. 4 countries like these might have argued that they should be allowed to emit more so that they could grow. Now they understand that all hands need to be on deck and are willing to do what's necessary to try to restore a stable climate. They understand that if a stable climate isn't restored ASAP, they will not have the opportunity to grow at all. None of us will if this problem gets out of hand. And the more we learn about it, the more we understand that even more dramatic changes than we had previously thought will be necessary to prevent it from getting out of hand. The more we delay enacting those changes, the more dramatic those changes will need to be to minimize damages and maximize our likelihood of being able to actually return to a stable global climate. The sooner we escape the danger zone that we are currently in, the more impacts from this problem we can avoid. The more lives we can save, the more we can reduce the risk of human extinction, the better quality of life we can ensure for those who will remain, and the more opportunities will remain available to us, by orders of magnitude for each variable. As long as we do the right things, we cannot decarbonize fast enough. There are almost no wrong ways to decarbonize, so long as they actually do net reduce GHGs, greenhouse gases. Nonviolent civil disobedience has never achieved the magnitude of change that we need to achieve to restore a safe climate. to have a 50% chance, which is a failing grade, of keeping temperature below 2 degrees Celsius of warming, above where we were before the Industrial Revolution began, when we began adding greenhouse gases at a more significant amount and rate. We need to have global emissions by 2030 and reach net zero GHG emissions by 2050. 2 degrees C is what the international political community decided was the threshold, which if we were to pass, we'd be in trouble. Many/most climate scientists believe that even that is not a safe threshold. Honestly, we are in trouble today, and we need to act like it. The surest thing that climate scientists can agree on, though, is that the fewer GHG emissions there are, and the lower our GHG concentration until it's back in that Goldilocks zone of 280 to 380 ppm, the less impacts there will be. Note that if I don't qualify a noun with the word global, national, regional, local, or anything like that, I'm talking about it on the global level. So we want to do better than net zero GHG emissions by 2050. Net zero GHG emissions right this instant would be the best situation, and the further we stray from it, the lesser of an outcome we would be accepting. Of course, we shouldn't kibosh progress in that direction, even if said progress is insufficient in and of itself. And as awful as the status quo is and has been in this regard, the status quo is still far superior to making the problem even worse. I mean, the status quo is making the problem even worse, but making it even worse than that is even worse than that. Ultimately, we want to be solving this problem, not accelerating it. So now that that has all been established, let's look at how hard it will be to minimize damage from this problem. To achieve net zero GHG emissions in the US alone by 2050 would be the greatest endeavor that humanity has ever achieved. But as the previous paragraph mentioned, that would be massively better served by net zero global GHG emissions much, much sooner than 2050. ASAP. To abolish slavery in the US, we needed to have a civil war, and a president to decide to make that call. I'd like us to be successful through nonviolent civil disobedience campaigns. I'd like to extend the potential and possibility of such actions and campaigns. We need to build up and flesh out and actually do these NVCD, nonviolent civil disobedience actions, so that if, God forbid, they fail, we have more legitimacy to waging violent campaigns, if things were to ever, unfortunately, come to that. But I must stress, now is the time to build up, emphasize, and do nonviolent civil disobedience, and talk about this problem with people. Strictly and solely legal attempts at addressing this problem have failed for at least 40 years. Let's talk now about the case that led to me being in jail here today. In 2016, 5 people went to 4 states and shut down 5 oil pipelines. Their action shut down all tar sands oil running through the United States for a while, ultimately stopping 15% of all energy being transported through the country during that time. The reason that I point out that this is tar sands oil specifically is that tar sands oil, amongst all types of oil, contributes the most to greenhouse gas emissions. It's worth noting that in a world that does what it takes to keep global warming below 2 degrees Celsius, tar sands oil would not be profitable. It's also worth noting that coal contributes more to global warming than even tar sands oil does. So a world seriously working to fight global warming, maximize prosperity, and minimize damages would not allow tar sands oil or coal to continue being burned. And keep in mind that China has been building coal plants at an astounding rate. 3 new plants per month. Sounds too horrible to believe, but I think that might be it. After those 5 people did their actions, which were in solidarity, honor, and respect for the Standing Rock protests, they went around talking about what they did, why they did it, and how they did it. It's clear that they were hoping that more people would follow in their footsteps. People who followed climate news desperately looking for a way to crack this difficult nut that we now call the climate crisis were enthralled. So inspirational. Invite the valve turners on your show. The people who did the action referred to themselves as the valve turners, etc., etc. I was one of those people. Going back over my Facebook posts from the past, I guess I had concerns about the environment before 2015, but they were more peripheral than my concern over climate change is today. I went into college like others have before me because I'm supposed to, after spending a fair amount of high school being sick of high school. I figured I'd go into writing since I was good at it as a kid, but the first writing class that the uni makes all students take shook that idea from my head. That class sucked. I figured if I wanted to write, I'd do it on my own time. Time to major in something different. Film and video, maybe? Kind of similar, I thought, since it was storytelling, but ultimately it was not for me. political science maybe. Kind of interesting, but it seemed to be teaching some dusty tropes that were either outdated or self-reinforcing. Biochemistry? I'm learning how to do things, but I don't know what I'd be doing them for. I ultimately wound up with international relations. Anyway, this has been a long enough section. I hope you check out the whole book. It's available on Amazon. Like I said, let's pull it back up if I can find it here. $10 on Amazon. I think it's a pretty good intro, right? And there's a lot more in there. So check it out, buy it, tell your friends, tell them to buy it. And maybe my fourth book, if there ever is one, will be traditionally published. Yeah, we'll see. All right, ciao.
Four-letter mo better.